Yeah, hello, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Am I audible? Audible, visible? It's audible, right? Good morning, Devansh. Okay, audible. Thank you, Manpreet. Okay, fine. Okay, so I think yesterday we were supposed to start from this India West Asia region, right? Okay, India West Asia region. Okay, so let us start with this India West Asia region. Okay, we were supposed to start from look west policy. So you would have known about this look east policy, right? Similar to look east policy, we have something called as look west policy. So when did we start this look east policy? So look east policy was started immediately after say 1991. So we wanted to encash into the emerging market of Southeast Asian countries. So we wanted to after the end of Cold War, we wanted to encash into this emerging market. So that is after 1991, our foreign policy got tilted in the perspective of getting economic benefits by engaging with the foreign country. So after 1991, the best opportunity was with the Southeast Asian market. So we had this lookist policy. So on the similar lines, we have something called as a look west policy. So this look west policy aims to engage with any doubts. Okay, any doubt? No doubt as such, right? Okay, fine. If there's any doubt, please put it in the chat box, guys. We can address those doubts. Okay. So look west policy is on the same lines. That is engaging with the West Asian countries, or say West Asian countries of the Middle East, in order to get economic benefits for India. So that's the main objective. But however, there are certain elements of getting better defense deals, or say protecting our diaspora. So if you consider say Eastern, that is Southeast Asian region vis-a-vis the West Asia region, West Asia is your all the Arab world. So if you consider that in the Arab world, we have a lot of Indian diasporas in the Arab world. Say Indian diaspora in the sense people of Indian origin residing there. So we have a huge number of Indian diaspora. Say after US, I'll change the ink. Say after US, so the next biggest Indian diaspora who are sending huge remittances to India is in West Asia. So again, in order to protect the Indian diasporas in the West Asia, so we have a dedicated policy and a look west policy. Fine. Okay, Sarthak, it's your birthday. So happy birthday, Sarthak. So good. So best wishes for your future. Fine. Okay, so let us write on this. So quickly tick down this look west policy. So I'll summarize again on the Dikshit is this telling happy birthday to Sarthak. It's fine. So please focus here. So so again here on the same lines of that of your look east policy, we have look west policy. So look west policy focuses on engaging with the West Asia in the perspective of enhancing bilateral economic cooperations. So that is the main aspect. And also the second aspects in look west policy is that we need to protect our Indian diaspora. See, after if you see Indian diaspora, the largest Indian diaspora is in your North America, so North America region, and the next largest Indian diaspora is in your Arab world, that is your West Asia. So under look west policy, the look west policy, India focuses on engaging with the diaspora for their protection. And the third one is defense aspects. So these are the three broad aspects which is focused under this look west policy. Okay, fine. Okay, so chalo then. So please start writing. So today we have to finish up West Asia, then we have to take up Africa, and then Europe. Okay. Okay, so kindly start writing it down. India's look west policy. So again here, so write down here key objectives under look west policy. Objectives under look west policy. First one is economic engagement. Yusra, West Asia, Middle East, it's the same. So Middle East and West Asia, it's the same. Right? Okay. More or less, it's the same. The Egypt is also involved, but however, well, don't go too much in detail. West Asia and Egypt, West Asia and your Middle East is the same. Consider that as the same. Okay, so objectives. So, what are the objectives under Look West policy? The main objective under Look West policy is your economic engagement. So, right on here, economic, economic engagements. Yeah, engagements, economic engagements. So what are the economic engagements again here? So first one, promoting under this write down, involves increasing trade. It involves increasing trade, increasing trade and investment, increasing trade and investment. Quickly write down increasing trade and investment. And the next one is energy collaboration, energy cooperation, boosting energy cooperation, boosting energy cooperation. See, West Asia, understand the nature. In the last class, we understood the nature of West Asia. West Asia is an oil economy. They have a lot of money with them. So, and it is a developed world. So, developed world, they have a lot of money with them. So we can trade the luxury goods with this developed world. That is West Asia. With the developed world, we can trade the luxury goods. And secondly, from other perspectives, that we can import oil and natural gas from them. So, and third one is investment. They have a lot of money. They have, since they are exporting a lot of oil across the world, they have a lot of forex reserve, that is foreign reserves with them. So we want those foreign reserves. So this is the economic engagement, that is increasing the trade with the West Asia. Secondly, we want their investment in West Asia. So trade, so below this write down, so trade in terms of luxury goods, trade in terms of luxury products, trade in terms of, that is India exports luxury products. India exports luxury products. India exports luxury products. Example, jewels, jewels, jewels. Yeah, that is mainly the gems and stones, that jewels. And then India export pharmaceutical products, pharmaceutical, pharmaceutical products, pharmaceutical products. So from India, the important goods are pharmaceutical products, gems and jewelries, gems and jewelries. And next one is basmati rice, basmati rice, basmati rice. Okay, basmati rice, spices. Okay, basmati rice, spices. These are the predominant product that we export from India to West Asia. And what do we import from West Asia? It is mainly energy. That is your crude oil, natural gas, and crude oil are the important components that we import from your West Asia to India. So you can write down. So crude oil. That is crude oil and gas. This is the main component that we import from West Asia to India. And the next economic engagement is that investment. So in West Asia has a lot of forex reserves with them. So we want their investment. So that is your under look West policy. And the next aspect under look West policy is that to strengthen India's economic security, energy security. So right down here. And the next point under look West is that to strengthen India's energy security, to strengthen India's energy security, to strengthen India's energy security. Fine. Third one is counter terrorism. Counter counter terrorism, counter terrorism and security in the region. region. Counter-terrorism and security in the region. Third point is counter-terrorism and security in the region. And the fourth aspect of Look West policy is protection of Indian diaspora. Protection of Indian diaspora. Protection of Indian diaspora. Fine. So these are the four aspects of Look West policy. One is in terms of your economic engagement, and the next one is in terms of energy security, third one in terms of counter terrorism, and fourth one is in terms of protection of Indian diaspora. So this is the broad India's look West policy. That is, if we have to engage with West Asian world, so that is your we have to focus on these dimensions. One is economic cooperation, next one is energy security, third one is your security region, that is terrorism, and the fourth one is your diaspora. So these are the aspects in which we have to engage with West Asia as per the Look West policy. So write down here West Asia's importance to India. West Asia's importance to India. That is why West Asia is important to India. So what does your Look West policy tells? So your Look West policy, that is India's Look West policy, tells that if you have to engage with West Asia, you have to focus in terms of economic engagement, in terms of energy cooperation, in terms of security issues, and in terms of protection of Indian diaspora. So whereas in your Look East policy, we did not have an element of this the diaspora, but the reason is that so the Indian diaspora, there are a huge number of Indian diasporas in the West Asia. So the first position is in North America, that is your US and Canada, and the second position is in your West Asia. So West Asia has huge number of Indian diasporas. So we have to protect those people. So so as a reason, within the Look West policy, we have included that aspects also. So now let us write down. So why West Asia is important for India? So first one, write down. First reason is geoeconomics. So the reason why West Asia is important for India, first one is geoeconomics. Geoeconomics perspective, that is geoeconomics reason. So what is the geoeconomics reason? What is the geoeconomics reason? First one is so again here write down. First one is trade and investment. 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 The Gulf countries, so below this radar, the Gulf countries, the Gulf nations, the Gulf nations have huge, huge forex, or say foreign reserve, huge forex. Forex is nothing but foreign reserve. The Gulf nations have huge forex, or say foreign reserve, which is essential, which is essential for investing in India, investing in India, investing in India, which is essential for investing in India. So one geoeconomic perspective is that the Gulf countries have huge forex reserves, so that is essential for investing in India. And second one is that second geoeconomics under this, that is under within the trade you write down. So that is Gulf countries, or say the West Asia. West Asia is a developed country. West Asia is a developed region demanding luxury. West Asia is a developed region demanding luxury products. products and services. Demanding luxury products and services. Demanding luxury products and services, which could be, which can be, which can be supplied by India, which can be supplied by India, which can be supplied by India. Okay. And the next geoeconomics perspective is that they provide energy security. Energy security. For energy security. Energy security. India imports, India imports, India imports up around, yeah, approx 80 percentage of crude oil from this region. 80 percentage of crude oil from this region, from this region. Right? India imports approx 80 percentage of crude oil from this region. Yeah. Third one is remittances. Remittances. What is remittances? Remittances means the Indian diasporas who are living in abroad, the money they send back to India, that is remittances. So the second largest Indian diaspora is in West Asia, so they send us a lot of money, lot of foreign currency to India. That is very crucial for India's foreign reserves. So remittances by Indian diaspora in West Asia. Remittances by Indian diaspora, remittances by Indian diaspora from West Asia, from West Asia, remittances by Indian diaspora from West Asia, from West Asia is important for, is important for, is important for investment in India, is important for investment in India, investment in India. Fine. Okay, and the next one you write down geostrategic importance. So this was geoeconomics importance. Now write down, yes, yes, Shweta, remittances is also geoeconomics importance. Okay, next one write down geostrategic importance. Geostrategic importance. Geostrategic importance. So if you see here in this map, so the important choke points, so the Suez Canal, the important choke points, the Strait of Hormuz, Suez Canal, the Gulf of Aden. So in all this region, West Asia has a lot of influence. And if you see the India's important maritime route passes via Gulf of Aden and Suez Canal. Gulf of Aden, Red Sea, and Suez Canal. So, who is controlling this? Bab el Mandeb also. Bab el Mandeb. This is also important. Important sea routes. So, India's important sea routes passes via the choke points that is controlled by your West Asia. So, if India has to have a free trade movement, West Asia's support is very crucial. So it's the geostrategic. West Asia has this geostrategic importance. Most of India's trade route passes via the Strait of Hormuz and Gulf of that is Bab el Mandeb. So these are the choke points. You can just analyze like this. Most of the India's important trade routes passes via the choke points that are controlled by West Asia. So West Asia has the geostrategic importance in the sense West Asia, if West Asia supports us, we will have a free movement in this trade. But West Asia, if they don't support us, West Asia can block our movement. West Asia can block our movement. So this can trouble us. So this is the geostrategic importance that West Asia has. So write down here. So yeah, write down under geostrategic importance. So write down here. First one you write down. Yeah, first one you write down. West Asia controls. West Asia controls the important choke points. West Asia controls the important choke points, choke, CHOKE, important choke points, important choke points. West Asia controls important choke points where India's trade, where India's trade route, where India's trade route passes, where India's trade route passes. It is essential, full stop. West Asia's support is essential. West Asia's support is essential to ensure freedom of movement. Freedom of movement is essential to ensure freedom of movement to India. Freedom of movement to India. Fine. Okay, next one. Another strategic reason, another strategic significance is that this is regarding your Israel. So Israel has cutting edge technology, cutting edge defense technology. So why it is a geostrategically important? That is, your West Asia. Israel is also part of your West Asia. So Israel has this cutting edge defense technology that is crucial for India's defense. So write down here. Next geostrategic importance is that defense technology from Israel. Defense technology from Israel. Defense technology from Israel is important. Is important to reduce to reduce to reduce India's to reduce India's dependency on Russia. To reduce India's dependency on Russia. Now, India's dependency on Russia. So now most of our defense imports are from Russia. Even today, most of our defense imports is from Russia. It's only in the Modi's regime that's in the last 10 years we have tried to diversify. But however, most of our India's defense import is still from Russia itself. But in this regard, your Israel plays a very important role because Israel is providing us cutting edge technologies so that we can reduce the defense imports from Russia. Now we are over dependent on Russia. If we are over dependent on Russia, it is a bad thing because tomorrow, what if Russia doesn't supply us the defense equipments? What is Russia doesn't supply us the spare parts during a war? So during a war, we'll be completely dependent on Russia, right? So that in order to avoid that, we require diversification of defense imports. Whereas in this regard, in the diversification of defense import, your Israel plays a crucial role. Fine. So next one you write down geosecurity perspective. Geosecurity perspective. Geosecurity perspective. And geosecurity importance. Counter terrorism. Counter terrorism. See, West Asia is considered as a leader. That is, your Saudi Arabia is considered as a leader. Saudi and Iran. So they are projected as a leader of Islamic world. And there are Islamic radicalization is happening in Afghanistan and Pakistan, to some extent in Bangladesh. So and this Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, they usually listen to what Iran and Saudi are telling. So if we have to control Islamic radicalization in Pakistan, if we have to control any religious radicalization in Pakistan or say Bangladesh that is affecting India, so we want Saudi support, so we want Iran support. When we when we ensure that Saudi and Iran pressurizes Pakistan and Bangladesh to control the radicalism, that is going to benefit India. So it is not that there is a radicalization going on in Saudi or say Iran, so it's going on, but that is not going to affect India. But the Saudi and Iran, they have a greater influence on India's neighboring country, so that will help in controlling the Islamic radicalization. So that is why Saudi and Iran is important. That is why West Asia is important for India. So from countering terrorism. So right down here, next one, counter terrorism. Right down here, West Asia exerts, or the West Asia has great influence. West Asia has great influence on. West Asia has great influence on. West Asia has a great influence on Afghan, yeah, has a great influence on Afghan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Pakistan and West Asia has a great influence on Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Who can? West Asia has a great influence on Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, which can be used to control, which can be used to control, which can be used to control religious radicalism, which can be used to control religious radicalism in these countries, in these countries. Closer, below this radar, closer cooperation with West Asia, closer cooperation with West Asia is essential for India. Closer cooperation with West Asia is essential, is essential for India. Okay, these are the broad reasons why West Asia is important for us. One is we want West Asia's money, that is, they have a lot of foreign reserves that is required. And secondly, we want West Asia's oil and natural gas. And thirdly, we want West Asia to purchase our luxury goods and services. Because West Asia guys are very rich, so we want them to purchase our luxury goods. And in West Asia, Israel has a defense technology. We want Israel's defense technology. And the last one is West Asia has a great influence on this Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh, because these are Islamic countries, and West Asia is seen as the Islamic leader, the leader for Islamic countries. So West Asia has a great influence on this. When we have a closer cooperation with West Asia, by using pressure, we can control the religious radicalism in these countries, that is Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, which are affecting India. So this is the West Asia's importance for India. So what are the challenges between India and West Asia? So write down here, challenges between India and West Asia. Challenges between India and West Asia. What are the challenges between India and West Asia? So the first challenge is, so write down, challenges between India and West Asia. First one is regional conflicts. So regional conflicts. Regional conflicts. So under this, write down uh, Iran, Iran versus Saudi. Iran versus Saudi. And the next one is Israel versus Arab world. Israel versus Arab world. Okay, so regional conflict. We want Iran, we want, that is, India wants Iran support, India wants Saudi support, India wants Israel support. But however, there's a regional conflict. That is, we know that Iran versus Saudi because of Shia Sunni reasons. So there's a conflict that's going on. So if we engage with Iran, Saudi gets offended. If we get engaged with Saudi, Iran gets offended. But whereas with Israel, if we engage with Israel, the entire Arab world gets offended. So this is the region conflict. Again, it becomes a challenge for India to deal in this situation. So again here, so we had this Israel-Palestine issue, whom to support. So earlier we were vocally supporting Palestine. Now we don't support anyone, but there's an element of tilt towards Palestine. But the degree of support towards Palestine has also come down. Now we are doing this balancing act. We want Israel support. We want Palestine also. That is, we want Arab world support. When we are engaging with Iran, we also want Iran support. We also want Saudi support. So this is, we are doing a balancing act, and so this is the regional conflict. And next one is right on here, geopolitical tensions. So next challenge is geopolitical tensions. So geopolitical tensions, geopolitical tensions. So again here, sanction on Iran, sanction on sanction on Iran by US, sanction on Iran by USA. See, we want to engage with Iran. That's very, Iran is very crucial for us to engage with Afghanistan, and via Afghanistan to engage with Central Asia. But US has imposed sanctions on Iran. So because of that, we are not able to engage with Iran properly. So yeah, next one below this, right on. Yeah, below this, right on, terrorism. So next one is terrorism, 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 terrorism. So under this, write down, uh, yeah, ISIS, 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 ISIS in Syria, ISIS in Syria, ISIS in Syria and Iraq, ISIS in Syria and Iraq. Next below this, write down, civil war in Yemen, civil war, civil war in Yemen, civil war in Yemen. So we know that the infamous ISIS, it's a terror organization. So this has spread in Syria and Iraq, so this region, and again there's a civil war in Yemen. So because of this, again we cannot properly engage with Central Asia. And the next one is, so right on here, another challenge is that, yeah, yeah, right on here, piracy, piracy, piracy near Gulf of Aden, Gulf of Aden. This is Gulf of Aden. So piracy near Gulf of Aden. So that's yeah, sorry. This is Gulf of Aden. So piracy near Gulf of Aden. So these are the challenges because of which we are not able to properly engage with the West Asia. However, the most important challenge is the region conflict. That is Saudi versus Iran, Arab world versus yeah, Israel. This is one main reason, and the next main reason is US. US is intervening in India's relation with West Asia. So these are the two important challenges that are present between India and West Asia. Fine. Okay. Uh, yes. Dikshit, it is said that Iran is supporting Hamas, Houthis, and Hezbollah. It is an allegation. So, yeah, it's an allegation. Hezbollah. Yeah, yeah, but Hezbollah is also Shia community, and your Iran is also Shia community. There's an allegation. Dikshit is telling a point, to some extent it's true. There's an allegation that your Iran is supporting the militant groups like say Hezbollah, Houthis, and Hamas. So Houthis in Yemen, Hamas in Palestine, and Hezbollah near Jordan, Syria region. So they're supporting, but this is an allegation by the Western countries. So yeah, right. So now let us start with Africa. So right on here, India Africa. So India Africa relation is not something new as such. First, let us see. Uh, okay. Okay, so first let us see what is the relation between India and Africa. So before getting into the actual relation between India and Africa, we'll have broad understanding over Africa. So what is the general characteristics of Africa? If you see the general characteristics of Africa, so Africa, say in the colonial times, so Africa was controlled by various European powers. Say Egypt was controlled by UK, be it France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal. Everyone had their own share in Africa during the medieval period, also during the colonial times. So this is the general characteristics. But however, I'll briefly tell you the general characteristics, that is the present characteristics of Africa. So the present characteristics of Africa, if you have to understand the present characteristics of Africa, we have to just go 300, 400 years back. So around 200, 300, yeah, 300, 400 years back, this Africa was colonized by the European powers. So these are the European powers who had colonized Africa. So because they had colonized, they had exploited Africa a lot. Exploited in a sense, these Africans were treated as a slave, and they had the European powers had exploited Africa. And secondly, the all the resources, important resources of Africa, were looted by the Europeans, and there was no development. At least India had a little bit of development under British rule, but India also looted India. So India, that is British, also looted India. But in Africa, the development was next to zero. It was next to zero, and in fact, they looted Africa a lot, because Africa was has rich in terms of minerals. Africa has the rich resources of minerals, so they looted Africa, and the Africans were treated as slaves. So then what happened in post 1900s? Post 1900, there was a decolonization movement. So due to this decolonization movement, these European powers, these colonizers, what they did, they left Africa without properly demarcating the boundaries. So currently we have border dispute, right? We have border dispute with Pakistan. We have border dispute with say Bangladesh. Now is resolved in 2015, but earlier we had border dispute with Bangladesh. We have border dispute with China. So what is the reason? Why we have a border dispute? The main reason is British. It is because of British we have border disputes. The same reason is applicable in Africa also. So again here the same reason is that the European power, when they left the country, they did not demarcate the boundaries properly. Since they did not demarcate the boundaries properly, so now we have a lot of border disputes in Africa. Within Africa, border disputes is the main reason that is causing political instability, or say civil war situation. And the second characteristics of Africa is that there is a lot of political instability. Many African countries do not have proper democracy in the sense, like now we are facing the festival of democracy. We are celebrating the festival of democracy, that is nothing but your elections. So in most of the African countries, the elections are held, but it is a sham. Like just for namesake, elections are held, but however, in most of the countries, in few of the African countries, it is under military rule. So democracy is not well established in Africa. even if there is a democracy, that is a sham. This is not, it's not proper, it's not a true characteristics of Africa. And third characteristics of Africa is that Africa has huge mineral resource. Say, be it rare earth element, be it oil, be it natural gas. Say in southern part of Africa. So in southern part of Africa, we get oil and natural gas. So even the vegetation, the timbers. So that is your western part of Africa. This region, we have a lot of timbers. So almost all sorts of uranium is also present here. Almost all sorts of minerals are found in all natural minerals are found in Africa. That is the next characteristics. And then I'll say on the next, say fourth characteristics of Africa is that population wise, the Africa's total fertility rate is very high. So overall, Africa's total fertility rate is above 3.5. The average Africa's total fertility rate is about 3.5. In some countries, that fertility rate is beyond 6. It's beyond 6. So the Africa's as per World Population Fund, UN World Population Fund, Africa will be the next. Africa's population will be the driving force for the future world's population. So Africa's population is bound to increase. So Africa's population is bound to increase. This is the next characteristics. And if we have to further move on from the economic dimension, and most of the African countries are emerging markets. That is, in future, since the Africa's population is growing and the market is also, that is, their disposable income is also growing, Africa becomes the next emerging market. Say in the next 30-40 years, Africa will be the next emerging market. So that is the reason why China is investing a lot in Africa. That's the reason why India is more interested in Africa, because in the next 30-40 years, Africa will be the next emerging market with huge population, with high disposable income, with a growing disposable income. Africa will have a lot of potential where India can export a lot of goods and commodities to these regions. Fine. So this is the general characteristics of Africa. Yes, Yusra, diamond. See, all sort of natural resources are found, even your rare earth minerals. Say Congo. So DRC, where is DRC? Democratic Republic of Congo, a very small state that controls the world's lithium reserves. So again, most of the important reserves are in Africa. So from Africa has lot of relevance from geoeconomics perspective, geostrategic perspective, and even geopolitical perspective. So yeah, we missed out this point. Geopolitical perspective. Why geopolitical perspective? Africa has more than, say, somewhere around 54 countries. Africa has somewhere around 54, 55 countries within it. So in United Nations, or say in any of the world forum, it is one vote per country. One vote per country. Doesn't matter whether you are a big economy like US, or whether you're a small country like, say, England or something like that. One vote per country. Since African Union has, say, around 54, 55 votes, so geopolitically Africa becomes very important, because they have the number strength with them. Africa as one continent, they have number strength with them. So geopolitically they are important, geoeconomics wise they are important, and geostrategically they are important. Why they are important? Because they control the rare earth element. They have a lot of huge reserves of rare earth element and huge reserves of uranium. And the next one is, it is the African continent, that is the Egypt, that controls Suez Canal. Egypt controls Suez Canal. So again, it becomes crucial. That is, the Egypt is one of the most important SLOC, that is the important sea lines of communication, passes via Suez Canal. So Egypt controls that. So in every aspect, Africa is crucial. So engaging with Africa in the 21st century is like super important. So that is the reason, if you see from, say, Manmohan Singh's era onwards. So before Manmohan Singh's era, we were not proactively engaging with Africa as such. Only on moral grounds we were engaging. Say during the Nehru period, we were telling that decolonization is important. They are our brother. We were considering, India was considering Africa as a sister continent. Sister, yeah, Africa was considered as a sister continent. We were giving ideological, say, moral support, and that is both India and African continent started on NAM, non alignment movement together. So before Manmohan Singh's regime, it was more about your moral support or say ideological support. But however, after Manmohan Singh's regime, the real business started. So the real business, in the sense, we started engaging from purely economic perspective. So purely economic perspective, in the sense, engaging with Africa for energy purpose, engaging with Africa for uranium purpose, natural diamond. India is one of the largest exporter of finished diamond. But where do you get the raw diamond from? Most of the India's raw diamond comes from Africa. So yeah, see, diamond is a luxury good, and India is famous for selling luxury good. So we have this polished diamonds, and where do we get the raw diamond from? Africa. So after say 2000, from 2000 onwards, we focused on the real business with Africa. And again, from 2000, yeah, that is during Manmohan Singh's period also, we saw that Africa is geopolitically important for us and the international forum, because Africa has huge votes, somewhere around 54, 55 votes with them. So African continent as one entity has 54, 55 votes with them in international forums. So we require their support. So that is the reason we started engaging with Africa in a proactive manner post 2015, so post 2000 onwards. Fine. Okay, so let us start with India, Africa. So right on here, general characteristics of India, Africa. So first one, right on. First one. So Africa. So right on here. First point is diversity. Highly diversity. See, Africa is highly diverse, but whereas if you see your North America doesn't have adequate amount of diversity. So we have Canadians. So on the eastern part of Canada, there is some element of French, but apart from that, most of the Canadians and American people more or less the same. Slight difference in the Mexico, no major diversity. But whereas in Africa, since Africa has a lot of tribal communities, the diversity is very, very high in Africa. So write down here diversity. Diversity in terms of high diversity. Sorry, this is high diversity in terms of culture, high diversity in terms of culture, language, high diversity in terms of culture, language, language, religion, religion, and political system and political system. So if you see here, even the political system is highly diverse. Some countries have military rule. Some countries are completely democracy. Say for example, South Africa is completely democracy. There are parallel governments running on. Say for example, if you consider South Sudan, parallel governments are running. So who is the actual government? We don't know. Multiple governments are running. So the political system is highly diverse. So, but whereas the political system is not so diverse in your Europe. So most of the countries are not most, almost all the countries are a democratic country in Europe, but that is not the case in your African region. So this is the first characteristics, and the second characteristics is colonial legacy. Colonial colonial legacy. Colonial legacy. Colonial legacy. So right on here, most of the African countries, most of the African countries, most of the African countries have had been most of the African countries had been colonized, had been colonized by European had been colonized by European powers in 18th to 18th to 20th century. In 18th to 20th century. 18th to 20th century. So colonial, there's a colonial legacy. Most of the African countries had been colonized. Say from 18th to 20th century, most of the African countries had been colonized. And the next general characteristics is rich natural resources. Rich natural, rich natural resources. Rich natural resources. Say in terms of oil, gas, minerals, oil, gas, minerals, oil, gas, minerals. Okay. Next one is, yeah. Next characteristics is conflict and instability, conflict and regional instabilities, conflicts and regional conflicts and regional instabilities. Okay, conflicts and regional instabilities. Conflict and regional instability. See, or the main reason why there is conflict and instability is because of this European powers. So when they left, when they left the continent during the decolonization movement, they did not demarcate the boundaries. Since they did not demarcate the boundaries properly, even today there is conflict. Say, for example, classic example is Sudan and South Sudan. So the issue is because of the colonial powers. The colonial powers, since they did not demarcate the boundaries properly, so it is leading to a lot of conflict and regional instability in the region. So these are the general characteristics of Africa. So now let us see the geo-economic significance of Africa. So write down here, geo-economic significance of Africa. So what are the geo-economic significance of Africa? So write down here, first one, geo-economic significance. First one, oil and natural gas. Good. Rich in minerals, fine. So under this first geoeconomic significance, write down rich in oil and natural gas. Rich, rich in oil and rich in oil and natural gas. Rich in oil and natural gas. Example, Nigeria. So we import a lot of oil from Nigeria. So Nigeria also. So right, example, Nigeria. Nigeria is one of the largest oil supplier. Nigeria is the largest. Nigeria is one of the largest oil supplier. Even we also import oil from Nigeria. Nigeria, one of the largest oil supplier. Okay. Okay. Next one, right on. Mineral resource, rich mineral, rich mineral resources, rich mineral resources, like rich mineral resources like gold, diamond, gold, diamond, a rare earth element, rare earth element, rare earth elements, rare earth elements. So gold and diamond are easily found in, say, are vastly found in South Africa. This is found in South Africa. Gold and diamond is vastly found in South Africa. A rare earth element is found in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. We call it as DRC. DRC. A rare earth element is predominantly found in DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. Fine. Okay, next geoeconomic significance is an emerging market. It is an emerging consumer market. Emerging consumer market. Why it is an emerging consumer market? See, emerging consumer, India is also an emerging consumer market because the population of India is increasing. So if the population of India is increasing, more consumers. Secondly, the disposable income in India is also increasing. That is, this year your salary will be 5 lakh, so next year your salary will be 7 lakh, so next year your salary would be say 10 lakh. Your salary is increasing, so it is bound to increase. But whereas in the stagnated countries like say your Germany or say your Japan, etc., here the salary is more or less stagnated and the population is stagnated, in fact declining. Say whereas in Japan the population is declining, salary is more or less stagnated. So in such markets, it's not a consumer emerging consumer market. It, in fact, it is decreasing. But whereas in Africa, it is an emerging consumer market, in the sense there are more number of consumers that are increasing day by day. So that is your emerging consumer market. Emerging consumer market with so here I down, which has high potential for, emerging consumer market which has high potential for trade, which has high potential for trade and consumption, which has high potential for trade and consumption, high potential for trade and consumption. Next one, next one, good investment opportunity, good investment opportunity. Good investment opportunity. Since Africa is an emerging market, emerging market, and it is bound to grow. Africa as a continent and the countries within Africa as a country, it is bound to grow. Since it is bound to grow, this is huge scope for investment, because the people with capital, they want their money to grow, right? Say assume that you have 100 crores with you. You don't want to put your 100 crores in some place where it doesn't give you some output, or it doesn't give you some yield. So you want to put this 100 crores in a place where the growth, where there's huge growth. So Africa is a place where there's huge growth. So that's the reason why you have a lot of investment from India going to Africa. Say be it your Airtel, you know this Airtel, the Airtel phone. So this Airtel has invested a lot of money in Africa. That Airtel is one of the important telecom player in Africa. So even your Bajaj motor vehicle. So you know the Bajaj motor vehicle, right? So they have also invested a lot in Africa. So investment opportunity is very high in Africa, very good in Africa, because it's an emerging market. The market will rise. So that's the reason investment opportunity is very high. So right down here, good investment opportunity as Africa is an emerging, as Africa is an emerging market, as Africa is an emerging market, as Africa is an emerging market. Okay, next one, right on, high renewable energy potential. High renewable energy potential. Africa has high renewable energy potential. How high renewable energy potential? If you see here, almost the center majority of the Africa is in the tropical region. So below this write down high renewable energy potential. So below this write down high renewable energy potential. Majority of Africa. So below this one point write down majority of Africa has majority of Africa has sorry majority of Africa is a part of is a part of tropical region. It's a part of tropical region. Majority of Africa is a part of tropical region, which 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 receives high solar insolation, 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 which receives high solar insolation. Fine. Okay. So these are the geoeconomic significance of your Africa. So now let us see the geostrategic significance. So geostrategic significance of Africa. So write down here. First one, write down geostrategic significance of Africa. So Aishwarya, should we draw a map? See, Aishwarya, whenever you're writing an answer, IR answer, preferably draw map. If you are not drawing map, and this for everyone, if you are not drawing map, just consider that you have lost an opportunity of zero point 0.5 to 1 mark. So take a 0.5 to 1 mark and think that you have lost an opportunity of 6 ranks. So average is 6 rank. 1 mark will have 6 ranks. Not drawing a map in IR answer will push you behind by 6 rank. So keep this in mind. Whenever you're writing answer, it has to be from marks perspective, it has to be from rank perspective. That's it. So see, how do you know that drawing map in IR is important? Because the toppers are drawing and they are getting good marks, you have to draw it. So the person who is getting say 105 or 110 plus, he is drawing. So take the example of Anudeep sir. See again here, the reason why you have to draw is that it will break the monotony of the answer. Fine. And secondly, if your handwriting is very small, say if your font is very small, drawing map becomes mandatory because you got to fill the page. In for a 10 mark question, you have to fill 2 sides, or if you don't fill 2 sides, it will there would be a psychological impact on the evaluator of thinking that, hi, this person has not completed the paper. But if you fill 2 pages, it will give a psychological impact to the evaluator that you have completed the paper. So it is that there's a shortage of space, else you would have written something else or say something more. So that's the reason. If you see all the toppers copy, so for a 10 mark question, everyone would be writing from starting from here, ending till here. So starting from one side, ending till here. That is mandatory. You have to do it. And that doesn't mean that you will write say 200 words. No, you will have to write in say 120, 130 words, but still you have to finish 2 pages. So that is a challenge. So since that's a challenge, that is writing say 60 words in one sheet in itself is a challenge. How to write 60 words in one sheet? You have to squeeze in map. Also you have to draw some diagrams, say this sun like diagram, or say this flow charts, these kind of flow charts. So that has to be there, or else very very difficult. Fine. Okay, so right down here, geostrategic significance. Geostrategic significance of Africa. So, first one, right on. It controls important choke points. It controls important choke points, like it controls important choke points like Suez Canal. First one controls important choke points like Suez Canal. This is your Suez Canal. Suez Canal controls important choke points like Suez Canal. This is your Bab al Mandeb. Suez Canal, Bab al Mandeb. Suez Canal and Bab al Mandeb. Okay, it controls Suez Canal and Bab al Mandeb. And second one, right out. Second geostrategic importance is that yeah, second geostrategic importance is that has great influence on the has great influence on the rare earth elements, has a great influence on the supply of rare earth elements, has a great influence on the supply of rare earth elements, on the supply of rare earth elements, on the supply of rare earth elements. So this rare earth elements is the most important thing that is required in the 21st century. For electronic items, for all the PCB boards, we require rare earth elements. For electric vehicle, we require rare earth element. That is, your fourth industrial revolution will run on IC chips. So fourth industrial revolution will run on IC chips or the PCB chips. For that we require for that we require rare earth elements. And secondly, your entire transportation sector will move towards electric. For that we require rare earth element. And Africa has huge reserves of rare earth element. So it is going to control the rare earth element. That is, Africa will control the supply of rare earth element in the future. Fine. And the next one, write down, controls the uranium supply. Controls the uranium supply, but it's not in a great way. Your Central Asia and Australia has huge resource of uranium, but however Africa also has decent resource of uranium. So right now, controls uranium supply to the world. Controls uranium supply to the world. Controls uranium supply to the world. Okay. Another geostrategic importance is that acts as an alternative source, acts as an alternative source for crude oil, acts as an alternative source for crude oil, acts as an alternative source for crude oil. So currently, the West Asia has become one cartel which is managing the global oil price. Currently, West Asia has become one cartel which is managing the global oil price. So if they want, they increase oil price. If they want, they'll decrease oil price. But so, when the say for example, Nigeria is one of the important player. Because of Nigeria, the West Asia is not able to control the oil price a lot, because if the West Asia increases the oil price, Nigeria will start supplying the oil. So this Nigeria, this Africa acts as a another source for oil imports across the world. See, the world depends on oil from West Asia. So most of the world depends on oil from West Asia. If West Asia, as a reason, West Asia has become a cartel. So West Asia controls the oil market. They will increase the price, they will decrease the price. In order to control the cartelization of the oil price by West Asia, Africa plays a crucial role in this regard. Fine. Okay. Okay, so these are the geostrategic importance. The next one, right on geosecurity importance, and also geosecurity significance. Geosecurity significance. Geosecurity significance. So why Africa is important? One, so first one, write down, to ensure security near the Horn of Africa. Geosecurity significance. One, to ensure security near the Horn of Africa. Near the Horn of Africa. Horn of Africa. Or say near the Somalian region. Horn of Africa, or say Gulf of Aden. Near Gulf of Aden, near Somalia region, or say near Horn of Africa is one and the same. Next one is to control global terrorism. Next one is to control global terrorism. To control global terrorism. So there are, say for example, in countries like say Nigeria, Somalia, there are a lot of terror organizations, say Boko Haram in Nigeria. So these are the organization. Like how in West Asia there are a lot of terror organizations. Similarly, like say Al Qaeda or say your ISIS, etc. In Africa also there are a lot of terror organizations like say Boko Haram. So this, in order to control this terrorism, we require Africa's support. So these are the geosecurity significance of Africa. Fine. So now let us see the India-Africa relationship. So what is the relationship between India and Africa? So right down here. So India-Africa relationship is not something new that has emerged in the recent times. since the ancient times we had a relation with Africa. Ancient in the sense, I mean literal ancient. Say some about 200 BC also we had relation, we had trade relation with Africa. So write down here, India Africa relation before 1947. India Africa relation before 1947. Before 1947. So we had trade relation with Africa before 1947 also. So write down here, ancient maritime connection, ancient maritime, ancient maritime, ancient maritime connections, ancient maritime connections. So write down here, the trade route, ancient maritime connections, ancient maritime connections. Right on the trade route across Indian Ocean, trade route across Indian Ocean, trade route across Indian Ocean, connected, trade routes across Indian Ocean, connected, connected, connected India and Africa, connected India and Africa, connected India and Africa. So, in the ancient times, we had trade. So, the trade was mainly in terms of spices. Spices was mainly traded between India and Africa. It was mainly in terms of spice, and even during the medieval period, also during the colonial times, there were connection. There were connection between India and Africa even during colonial times. So, write down here. Uh, that is during colonial times. So write down here, during colonial times. So next point is colonial times. Both India and Africa, colonial times. Here write down both India and Africa, both India and Africa shared anti-colonial movements, shared anti-colonial movements efforts, anti-colonial movement efforts, anti-colonial movement efforts together, anti-colonial movement efforts together. Say for example, father of our nation Mahatma Gandhi, so he went to Africa, so that is an propagated anti-colonial movement. So the anti-colonial movement between India and Africa were going together, that is the efforts. We had a shared efforts against the anti-colonial movement even during the colonial times. There were we had relationship. And again here write down, next one write down, the first one is anti-colonial movement efforts were shared together. Second one write down, the indentured labor, the indentured labor from India, the cheap labor, so the cheap labor from India were sent to Africa. The cheap labor from India were sent to Africa, were sent to Africa to work, to work, to work in plantations, to work in plantations, to work in plantations. Fine. So mainly in plantation. See, again in ancient times also we had relation with Africa. Even during colonial times also we had a relation with Africa. So after independence, so now write down independence. That is India-Africa relationship post 1947. India-Africa relationship post 1947. Post 1947. So post 1947, in the initial phase itself, since both India and Africa had similar history, similar economic conditions, similar political conditions, similar educational level, health, everything were more or less the same, because it is the European countries that looted India, it is the European countries that looted Africa. Both had similar conditions. See, economy was very were in shambles in India. Economy was affected in Africa. Low literacy in India, low literacy in Africa. Border disputes in India, so due to British. Border disputes in Africa due to European power. So in the beginning, so we had similar history, shared history. As a reason, we had shared interest also. Shared interest in the sense maintaining stability in the region, say development. So ensuring development of the people. So that we had a shared interest. That is, India and Africa had a shared interest. So it frequency resonated, because we also suffered from the colonialization. India also suffered. That is, Africa also suffered from colonization. And now both these countries, so both this India and Africa wants to develop. So we had a shared interest. So as a reason, by now when we got independence, we started having diplomatic engagements with Africa in the beginning itself. But however, it was not mainly from economic perspective, but as a moral support towards Africa, as an ideological support towards Africa. We were engaging with Africa. So that was the initial phase. In the initial phase, our agenda was not to get economic benefits out of it. Our agenda was that together we will develop. Since together we suffered from British and various European powers, now together we will develop in a common strategy. In a common strategy is then in non-aligned movement, in a non-NM, so non-alignment movement. So without, we will not align either with US or either with USSR during the Cold War. So in the initial period, that is 1947 to say 1960s, we had good diplomatic engagements, and we aimed to develop together, because we had a shared interest, we had a common interest, and we aimed to develop together. So right down here, 1947 to 1960s. 1947 to 1960s. So Nehru played a crucial role. So Nehru called Africa as a sister continent. So the reason why sister continent, because we also suffered. Africa also suffered. The current situation of India is same as that of your Africa back then. So as a reason, Nehru called Africa as a sister continent, and he emphasized more on Asia Africa, that is Africa Asia resurgence, and both of them should uplift together, both of them should research together. So that is called, that was the ideology of Nehru. So Nehru was very vocal regarding the decolonization of Africa. See, India got independence in 1947. Many countries in Africa did not get independence in 1947. In fact, a few countries got in 1950s, and few countries got in 1960s also. So Nehru was very much vocal regarding the decolonization of Africa. So fine. So write down here. So first point, write down. So 1947 to 1960s. So write down here. Nehru supported for African decolonization. Nehru supported for African decolonization. First point, African decolonization. Second point, write down. Nehru supported for second point, write down. Nehru supported for Asia Africa coordination. Asia Africa coordination in developing together. Asia Africa coordination in developing together. Asia Africa coordination in developing together. Fine. Okay. Third point, write down. Both India and Africa both India and Africa were members of NAM, non-alignment movement. Were members of non-alignment movement. Were a members of NAM, non-alignment. Were members of non-alignment movement. Non-aligned movement. Non-aligned movement. Which promoted neutrality. Which promoted neutrality during Cold War. Which promoted neutrality during Cold War. Okay, so this happened in 1947 to 1960s. So we started engaging with Africa. We started building a good diplomatic relation with Africa. There are frequent high level visits. That is frequent visit of Indian Prime Minister to Africa, because most of the African countries were a part of your NAM, non-aligned movement. So there was a frequent visits from that is Indian Prime Minister to Africa. So India had a very close coordination with Africa during the initial phase of our independence. Then what happened in post 1970s? So what was India telling? So during Nehru's period, what were we telling to Africa? We were telling, boss, let us maintain non-aligned movement. That is, we will not engage with USA or say your USSR. We will maintain neutrality and we will develop as per needed, as per our goals. So that was India's stance. Then what happened in 1971? What did India do? What did India do in 1971? Before 1971, we were telling, we were we were acting as a leader and telling that Africa is a sister continent and we will guide Africa regarding NAM, non-aligned movement, and we will help out Africa. And we were very vocal regarding the decolonization of Africa. So these things we were doing in 1947 to 1960s. So what happened in 1971? We signed agreement with USSR. So we signed agreement with USSR. So treaty of friendship agreement. We were telling, don't align with anyone. So don't align with US or don't align with USSR. So then we told, we'll align with USSR in 1971. So then what happened? So the relation between India and Africa came down. So because we told something to Africa and then we did something else. So the relation between India and Africa came down after 1970s. So after 1970s, it came down. But however, economic and cultural cooperations were maintained, but the political level cooperations, that came down. So the political level cooperation came down because some African nations had aligned themselves with Western countries. So the Western world. So as a reason, since we aligned ourselves with USSR, not directly as such. Because the circumstances made us to align ourselves with USSR. There's nothing wrong in what we did. So that's what was needed, because in foreign policy we should always focus on our interest. So as per our interest, we had to align ourselves with USSR. Because of this, there were some challenges, political challenges in engaging with Africa. So right down here, 1970s to 80s. 1970s to 80s. So right on here, 1970s to 80s. So post India Soviet Treaty of Friendship, post India Soviet Treaty of Friendship, post India Soviet Treaty of Friendship, post India USSR Friendship Treaty, or say India Soviet Treaty of Friendship, India Soviet Treaty of Friendship. India Soviet, it's one and the same. India Soviet Treaty of Friendship or India USSR Friendship Treaty, it's one and the same. 1971 Friendship Treaty between India and Soviet is one and the same. Post India Soviet Friendship Treaty, post India Soviet Friendship Treaty, it created political strains, it created diplomatic strains, it created diplomatic strains between India and African countries, between India and African nations who who aligned, who had aligned with the West, 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 who had aligned with the West. Full stop. However, 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 economic and cultural cooperation still continued. 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 Fine. Okay. So this happened in 1970s to 80s. Now what happened in 1991? USSR got disintegrated. So USSR got disintegrated, and 1971 we signed a treaty of friendship with USSR. USSR got disintegrated. So in 1991 onwards, Cold War ended. So there was one unipolar. We have one unipolar world led by USA. So that dynamics between India and Africa changed after 1991. So after 1991, what type of foreign policy we focused on? We focused on a foreign policy that would give us economic benefits. That would give us economic benefits. So post 1991, our foreign policy changed because which one, Jyoti? Which one should I repeat? Okay, post 1991, our foreign policy changed because USSR got disintegrated, Cold War ended, and there was one unipolar world. In a unipolar world that was led by USA. So earlier we had aligned ourselves with USSR. So now USSR is disintegrated. So and post 1991, our foreign policy got changed. That is, we were focusing. We changed our foreign policy objective in itself. The objective of foreign policy earlier was to ensure security for India. Now the primary objective of foreign policy was to get economic benefits. So right down here, post with the Cold War end. So right down here, post 1991. So it was mainly economics perspective. So earlier, before 1991, we were giving some ideological support, telling that don't align with anyone, we'll have to maintain neutrality, decolonization, etc. Now that is gone. After 1991, it is pure economics. That is, we will have a foreign relation. That is, we will have a foreign relation with Africa only from economic perspective, mainly from economic perspective. So that was the main objective of that. Our main changes post 1991. Fine. So right down here, post 1991, India, Africa, post 1991. After the end of World War, after the end of Cold War, after the end of Cold War, after the end of Cold War, India, Africa, Africa strengthened their economic ties. India, Africa strengthened the economic ties. Strengthened the economic ties. Strengthen the economic ties. And again here, our foreign policy after 1991 was to have economic benefits. And again, what was the general characteristics what we saw about Africa? Africa was an emerging, that is, the population was growing in Africa, and again it is an emerging market, so it is a good investment opportunity. So as a reason, India's private sector started investing a lot in Africa. The reason being, I have money, I need to grow, I need to get benefit out of that money, right? I need to invest in somewhere where I get good returns. Africa was the place where it could provide good returns. So as a reason, what happened? Indian private sector started investing a lot in Africa because Africa is an emerging market. So right on, next point, right on, post 1991, Indian private companies, Indian private companies started investing in Africa. Started investing in Africa. Started investing in Africa. Okay. So next one. So in 2008, that is as I told earlier. So Manmohan Singh's regime. starting from Manmohan Singh's regime onwards, we started proactive engagements with Africa. So before that, there was no much engagement with Africa from economics perspective. Say, whereas Nehru, during Nehru as a prime minister, we were proactively engaging with Africa because we were supporting Africa ideologically. That is anti-colonization, or say promoting decolonization movement, that is maintaining neutrality. We were giving political and ideological support during this thing, Nehru's period. But however, it was during Manmohan Singh's period, we started proactive engagement with Africa. The reason being, it has a lot of geostrategic importance. It has a lot of economic opportunities. It has a rare earth element, uranium, oil. It controls the important sea lines of communication. That is your Suez Canal and your Bab el Mandeb. So it has huge resource. So that's the reason it was during Manmohan Singh's regime we started actively engaging with Africa from economic perspective. So right on here, 2008, in 2008, first India Africa summit. So again, Modi also is continuing the same concept. So it was started in Manmohan Singh's regime. Now even Modi is also doing the same thing. So right on here, 2008, first India Africa for Forum Summit was held. First India Africa Forum Summit was held, that focused on that focused on trade, investment, that focused on trade, investment, and development cooperation. Development cooperation. Okay, the last again here. So the last India Africa Forum Summit was in 2019. So the fourth, that is the fourth, within brackets, right? Fourth India Africa Forum Summit, IAFS. Fourth India Africa. After that, we did not have India Africa Forum Summit because we had COVID. After COVID, we did not have India Africa Forum Summit. So the last one was fourth India Africa Forum Summit, highlighting the digital technology, renewable energy, and sustainable development. So in the fourth India Africa Forum Summit, cooperation in terms of digital technology, renewable energy, and sustainable development was seen as an area of cooperation. Was seen as an area of cooperation. Okay, I'll write down this last point and then we'll take a break. So please see here. So what happened in G20, recently held concluded G20. So G20, in the G20, African Union was not a member. So what India did, India through its diplomatic channels negotiated with all the members of G20 in order to include this African Union into G20. So in G20 we have European Union, EU. So similarly, we negotiated, that is India took the leadership to negotiate with all the G20 members in order to include African Union into G20. So because of this, now African Union is a part of your G20, and since this action of India, because of this action of India, India Africa have come much more closer. So right on here, the last point, and then we'll take a break. Fine. So India through diplomatic channels, in India through diplomatic channels, through diplomatic negotiation, or say diplomatic channels, helped African Union, helped African Union to become a permanent member, of G20, to become a permanent member of G20. This strengthened India Africa ties. This strengthened India Africa ties. This strengthened India Africa ties. Fine. Okay, so now it is say 7:37. So we'll please cut down the break, the duration of the break, and we'll keep it as say 13 minutes of break. So earlier it was 15 minutes, 2 minutes less. Fine. So 7:37. Okay. Please come by 7:50. So we'll start the class by 7:50. Fine. 7:50, please. Okay. Yeah. 7:50, please. Okay. Yeah, so let us start. Fine. Okay, so this is the evolution of India-Africa relationship. So now let us start with the next aspects. That is why exactly India and Africa, why exactly Africa is important from India's perspective. So write down here, geopolitical importance of Africa. Geopolitical importance of Africa. So can you write down this? Why Africa is important? So, write down here geopolitical importance of Africa. So again here, as we saw earlier, Africa has huge resources of, say, oil, your petrol, that is a crude oil, natural gas, your important minerals. So in this aspect, it's very crucial. That is, it has a lot of resources, and in order to utilize those resources, Africa, and those resources are important for India. And in order to utilize those resources, Africa is very crucial. That is, Africa support is very crucial. So write down here, first one is to ensure resource security. To ensure resource security. So why Africa is important? First one is to ensure resource security. So below this one write down, Africa has Africa has rich natural resources, like like oil and natural gas, like oil and natural gas, and minerals which are crucial, and minerals which are crucial for India's energy security, which are crucial for India's energy security and economic growth. Energy security and economic growth. Fine. And the next one is, see, how Africa is an emerging market, in a sense their population is increasing, their disposable income is increasing, their economy is increasing, their population is increasing. So that becomes an opportunity for India to expand its market. So since the population is increasing, since the income in African continent is increasing, that is the disposable income in African continent is increasing, we could export our goods and services to them. That is, we can expand the market towards Africa. So again, next geopolitical significance is that market expansion. So market expansion. So colon market expansion colon. So write down, Africa is an emerging Africa has many emerging economies. Africa has many emerging economies which provides an economic opportunity for India, which provides an for India economic opportunity for India in terms of trade and investment, for India in terms of investment trade and investment. Fine. Okay. Another aspect why your Africa is important for India is that to provide security, that is maritime security. Since the see here, this is the important lines, that is SLOC, that is important trade routes of India. The important trade routes of India passes via this African region. The important trade routes passes via African region, and the security for that can be provided by Africa. So write down here, next one, write down maritime security. So maritime security, India's important trade route, India's important trade route passes passes through in India's important trade route passes through African coastline, passes through African coastline, passes through African coastline, passes through African coastline, whose security, okay, whose security, African coastline, whose security can be provided by, whose security can be provided by African, whose security can be provided by African, African nations, whose security can be provided by African nations, African nations. Okay, and so there's maritime security. From maritime security perspective, that is your Africa is quite is very important maritime security. And again here, as you saw earlier, that is your in the international forum, each country has one vote. Say even in UN or say even any of your international forums, most of the international forum, each country has one vote, and Africa has somewhere around 54, 55 countries, nations within it. So Africa has a huge number of votes in Africa as a continent has a huge number of votes in international forum. So for a diplomatic pressure to be built up again in the international forums, Africa plays a crucial role. That is diplomatic influence. So Africa, if India engages with Africa and African continent as one entity can support India, it means that if one African continent supports India, it means that somewhere around 54, 55 countries are supporting India. That's a big number. That is a big vote share. So, Africa as one entity is very crucial in the international forum because there are huge votes that are involved in Africa. So that's the reason, right? So write down here diplomatic influence. Diplomatic influence. Africa's support is important. Africa's support is important for India to strengthen India's stance, to strengthen India's interest, to strengthen India's interest or India's stance, to strengthen India's interest in the international forum, in the international forum, in the international forum. As Africa, as Africa has, as Africa, Africa has 54, 55 votes, 54 to 55 votes in international forum, in international, in international forum. 54 to 55 votes in international forum. See, if India has to push India's interest or say India stands in international forum, we require support. So rather than speaking with many countries, if we have support of African Union, we will have a support of 55 to 50, 54 to 55 votes. So this will give us an edge. So in having a diplomatic support. So that is the reason why India pushed for African Union's entry into G20, so that we can build a goodwill. We can build a goodwill with African Union. Later on, African Union will help us in United Nations. So that is the agenda what we followed. So now let us see what are the challenges between India and African relations. What are the challenges in Africa-India relationship in the present times? So write down here. See, Zeba, it's something like this. In United Nations, okay, in UN, IMF, World Bank, etc., in all these international institutions, Western world is ruling. So the global South, they are not having much say. and India's interest doesn't have much strength because India doesn't have adequate support in the international forum. In order to get additional support or say more strength to India's stance or India's interest, we require more number of countries to support us. At the end of the day, it's all about vote. How many, if more countries support India, so India's stance will be accepted. So Africa, all these African countries are a member of UN. Africa has somewhere around 54 to 55 votes in various, within African continent. There are 55 54 55 countries. So these 54 55 countries, they are a member of international forum. So when we deal with African continent as one unit, we are getting 55 votes with us, so 54 votes with us. So that is an advantages for us. So that is why we want Africa, because African Union as one, if the support that is equivalent to 50 54 votes. So that's why we are engaging, we want Africa's support at the international forum. Fine. Okay, now let us see the challenges that is there between India and Africa. First one is competing influence. So again here, competing influence. So right on here, first one, competing influence. So Africa has a lot of natural resource. It is not that only India is competing. Even China is competing with Africa. So China is competing over there. So right on here, competing influence. Competing influence. Right on first one. Right on. China. China through its BRI. China through its Belt and Road Initiative projects. China through its BRI projects is competing against India. China, through its BRI project, is competing against India. So, for India, China is the biggest competitor in Africa. So India is trying to invest in Africa, but however, China is also investing in Africa through their Belt and Road Initiative project. That's the biggest challenge that we have. And the next one is infrastructure gaps. See, if we have to trade with Africa in a seamless manner, there has to be proper infrastructure. See, in terms of ports, in terms of airports, in terms of connectivity networks. But however, that is not there. So, because of infrastructure gaps, we are not able to properly trade with Africa. So, right on here, infrastructure gaps, inadequate infrastructure in Africa, inadequate infrastructure in Africa, inadequate infrastructure in Africa creates inadequate infrastructure in Africa, like transportation, comma, energy, and digital connectivity. Like transportation, energy, and digital connectivity creates hurdles in the economic cooperation. Creates hurdles in the economic cooperation. Creates hurdles in the economic cooperation. Okay, so next we have trade imbalance. So what is trade imbalance? India has this trade, that is the African countries has trade deficit with respect to India. So next we write down African countries faces African countries face trade deficit with India. African countries face trade deficit in India. Trade deficit with India. That is, India exports a lot of goods and services to Africa, but Africa we don't procure adequate goods and services from Africa. So Africa faces trade deficit with India. And the next one is security concerns. Security concerns. Security concerns. So here I down regional security concerns, regional instability, due to regional instability, due to political crisis, due to political crisis or militant groups or due to militant groups or due to militant groups creates hurdles in the relations, creates hurdles in the relations. So creates hurdles in the relation. See, if you see Africa, there are many politically unstable countries within Africa, say Sudan. So there are a lot of civil wars, militant groups. Because of that, we are not able to properly engage with these countries. So these are the challenges in Africa India relationship. But the biggest challenge is China. So China is the biggest challenge because China is investing a lot of money in Africa, and that is the biggest competing factor. We want to influence Africa, but however, China is our biggest competitor. So in order to compete that, the way ahead was this Asia Africa growth corridor. So right on below this, right on Asia Africa growth corridor. What is this Asia Africa growth corridor? Again, it was a counter to Belt and Road Initiative project in Africa. So right on here, Asia Africa growth corridor, Asia Africa growth corridor. So below this, right on, it is a counter, it is a counter to Chinese, it is a counter to China's or so Chinese BRI in Africa. It is a counter to China's BRI, that is Belt and Road Initiative project in Africa. Fine. Anyways, this I'll explain what is this Asia Africa Growth Corridor. So Asia Africa Growth Corridor. So this is a joint project started by India and India and Japan. It is a joint project started by India and Japan. So the reason being that India has a great influence in Africa. That is good people to people contact in Africa. India has a great influence in Africa. But however, India doesn't have money. Japan has money. So whereas in China's factor, the problem with China is that China has this Belt and Road Initiative project. So but Chinese government doesn't have adequate political contact with the African continent. So Chinese government or say China doesn't have adequate people to people contact with Africa. But whereas in India, we have good political contact with African continents, because since Nehru times we are having a good political contact with Africa and good people to people contact. Because before during colonization also Indians were taken to Africa, and we have good people to people contact with India, and Africa maintains good political contact, good people to people contact, but we do not have money. So as a reason, we looped in Japan. Japan has a lot of money to invest, so we looped in Japan. So now this Asia Africa Growth Corridor is a joint program initiated by India and Japan, where we aim to construct the developmental projects in Africa, or say increase that connectivity network in Africa, so that Asia and Africa can trade properly. So that is the objective of your Asia Africa Growth Corridor. Fine. So right down here, Asia Africa Growth Corridor proposed by, so quickly proposed by Japan, proposed with Japan and India, proposed by Japan and India, proposed by Japan and India, which is supported by USA and Australia. Proposed by Japan and India, supported by USA and Australia. Supported by USA and Australia. Okay. So again, the aim is that we will include the Asian countries in this corridor, that is Asia Africa Growth Corridor, and we will trade with Africa. So that is the agenda, that is Asia Africa Growth Corridor. Again, here the focus area under Asia Africa Growth Corridor are infrastructure development. So it's mainly connectivity infrastructure development. So right on here, there's a missing here, connectivity infrastructure development. Connectivity infrastructure development in Africa. Connectivity infrastructure development in Africa. Focus areas: connectivity, infrastructure development in Africa, developing health and pharmaceutical sector, investing in health and pharmaceutical sectors in Africa, investing in health and pharmaceutical sectors in Africa. Yeah. Next one is investing in agriculture and agro processing units. Investing in agriculture and agro processing units. Investing in agriculture and agro processing units. And the last one is investing in disaster management measures. Investing in disaster management measures. This is your Asia Africa growth corridor, investing in disaster management measures. This is your Asia Africa growth corridor. It is a counter to BRI, Belt and Road Initiative project. So it was started in 2017. Now it's kind of in a cold storage. Both India and Japan, they're not taking up taking any major actions regarding this Asia Africa growth corridor. But however, your China is investing a lot of money in Africa under Belt and Road Initiative project even today. But this was proposed in 2017 as an alternative, but it did not pick up. So both India and Japan later on started neglecting this one. So this is the current scenario of Asia Africa growth corridor. So as an alternative to BRI, so we propose this one, that is Asia Africa growth corridor. So this is your relation between Asia Africa growth corridor. Asia Africa region. Fine. So India Africa region. Got it. Okay. So now let us take up Europe. India Europe relation. India Europe relation. So India Europe relation. So lot of dynamics between India Europe. So yeah, and let us start with India Europe. Fine. So, before understanding India Europe relation. Okay. Before understanding India-Europe relation, there are few things that you have to understand. So first, we have to understand what is European Union, and we'll have to understand what is this Brexit. Yeah, what is Brexit, and then we'll see the relation between India and European Union as such. So, fine. So let us start with European Union. Okay, so what is European Union? So write down here, European Union, EU. Okay, European Union. So unless your optional is not PSIR, you need not go too much in detail regarding European Union as such, but have a broad understanding about how Europe functions, or say how European Union functions, because we engage with European Union as one institute, or say one agency together. It's fine. So this, what is this European Union? So European Union is this group of countries, a group of say 27 countries. Earlier it was 28 countries. Now British came out of European Union. So currently we have somewhere around 27 countries. These 27 countries have come together and formed as a common economic union. Common economic union in the sense, economic union. Don't confuse economic union with European Union. Economic union is a economic term. European Union is 27 countries coming together making one economic union, that is your European Union. So the agenda is that cooperation, economic cooperation. When everyone comes together, that is that 27 countries come together, there is a free movement of labor capital. So there's a free movement. Now there's a free movement of labor capital. So that is your economic union. So labor, free movement of labor in the sense, for example, a person, a German, a person from Germany, German person can work in France. Both France and Germany are part of your European Union. European Union is one economic union where there's a free movement of labor and capital. So you can easily, a person from Germany could work in France, a person from France could work in Germany. So that is your free movement of labor, a free movement of labor and capital. So that is, a person from Germany could invest in France. So that's also possible. A person from France could invest in Germany without the interference of government. So that is your economic union. Say for example, if a person from Bangladesh has to invest in India, they will have to go via the government route. They will have to take the permission of government and then invest. Say if one Indian has to invest in Bangladesh, will have to take the permission of government and invest in Bangladesh. But whereas in an economic union, you need not take any permission. It's something like this. If I am from Karnataka, I can easily invest in Tamil Nadu. I need not ask anyone. I can directly invest in Tamil Nadu. So it's something like that. So economic union means free. I can go and work in Tamil Nadu without government's permission. I can go and work in Maharashtra without government's permission. So I don't require any permission as such. So similarly, that is your economic union model. So European Union is a type of your economic union model where 27 countries, earlier it was 28 countries, now it is 27 countries, because British left this European Union. Why it left, we'll see to it later on. So this 27 countries, they have come together in order to form this economic union. So write down this. So European Union, it was formed under Maastricht Treaty. So write down here, Maastricht Treaty led to the formation of European Union, led to the formation of European Union, led to the formation of European Union, led to the formation of European Union as one political unit, as one political entity, as one political entity, as one political entity, as one political entity. Fine. So here I down one political entity. Here I down EU, European Union. So we'll write EU is a single market. EU is a single market. Is a single EU is a single market. EU is a single market. Which EU is a single market, which means goods, goods, services, goods, services, goods, services, capital, goods, services, capital, and labor, goods, services, capital, and labor can move freely. Goods, services, capital, and labor can move freely, can move freely, can move freely between member states, between member states, between member states, between member states. Okay. So let's see here. This is European Union. It's a single, considered as a single market, and all these 27 countries, people can move from one country to another. Goods can move from one country to another. Service and your capital can move from among these 27 countries without anyone's permission. That is, it can freely it can move. So no government interference as such. So this is your European Union. So within European Union, there is something called as a Euro area. Euro area. So next one, write on Euro area. Euro area, or say it's also known as Eurozone. Euro area, or say Eurozone. Euro area, Eurozone, one and the same. So there are 27 countries. Please see here, there are 27 countries. Of this 27 countries, 20 countries, 27 countries are there in European Union. Of these 27 countries, 20 countries have told that, ठीक है, we will have a common currency. We will not have our national currency. We will have a common currency called as Euro. A common currency called as Euro. So those 20 countries together is called as Euro area. Fine. So write down here Euro area. Euro area is a currency union. Euro area is a currency union. It's a currency. It's a currency union. Currency union of 20 EU countries. Of 20 EU countries, European Union countries, of 20 EU countries, of 20 EU countries that have adopted, of 20 EU countries that have adopted, that have adopted, that have adopted euro as primary currency. Euro has primary currency. Euro has primary currency. Fine. Understood the difference between European Union and Euro area. So I'll yeah, it's something like this. So yeah, this is European Union. European Union has 27 countries. So these 27 countries have come together. There's a free movement of goods, services, capital, and labor. Easy movement. No restriction by the government. So within this 27 countries, there are 20 countries who told that we will have common currency. That is, we will not have a national currency. So it's for India, its national currency is rupee. So we will not have national currency. We will have a common currency, that is euro. That is euro. So these 20 countries who told that we will not have our currency, we will have a common currency known as euro, those areas, that is these 20 countries, are known as eurozone or euro area. It's one and the same, euro area or say eurozone. Any doubt over here? Euro area or eurozone. So remaining 7 countries, they have their own own currencies. They have their own currencies. So that is they have their own internal currencies. Fine. So now how European Union functions. So right on here, the institutions. See, European Union is considered as one political entity. So in order to have political entity, what is required? So for India to become a state, what are the 3 things that are needed? One is law making body, one is law executing body, one is judiciary. Fine. So similarly, if we have to consider India, what is European Union? European Union is considered as one political entity, in the sense one big country together. So all these 27 countries have come together, and now it is seen as one big country. So if we have to run one big countries, what is needed? One parliament is needed, one judiciary is needed, one executive body is needed. So similarly, even in European EU, 3 things are there. We have European Parliament, European Executive Committee, European Judiciary. EU Judiciary is there. Fine. So right on here, EU institutions. So now European Union is considered as a one political entity. So in order to run one political entity, three things are needed: executive, legislature, judiciary. So even in EU, we have the same things. So right on here, EU institutions. First one is EU Parliament. EU Parliament. EU Parliament. EU Parliament. So here right on EU Parliament. European Parliament. European Union Parliament. Here right on. It's a directly elected body. It is a directly elected body. It is a directly elected body of EU. It is a directly elected body of EU. Full stop. The Parliament is responsible for making laws. Parliament is responsible for making laws and approving budget, and approving EU budget, and approving European Union budget. Approving European Union budget. Approving European Union budget. Fine. So EU Parliament. So next one is European Commission. So right on here, Next body is European. This is your EU, European Parliament. This is the EU Parliament. Next we have European Commission. So right down here, this is your European Commission. So it's like your executive in India. Who is the executive? It's the Prime Minister who is going to execute the laws. So here European Commission. So right down here, it is the executive branch. It is the executive branch. Executive. It is the executive branch of EU to implement the laws. To implement EU to implement the laws. And the next one is, Court of Justice. That is Court of European Union Court of Justice. EU Court of Justice. EU Court of Justice. EU Court of Justice. It is responsible for interpreting. It is responsible for interpreting and enforcing EU laws. Enforcing EU laws. Enforcing EU laws. Enforcing EU laws. Fine. And the last one is how we have this RBI. For India, we have executive, judiciary, that is your parliament, executive, judiciary, and RBI. RBI monitors all your, so RBI is a central government, central bank of India, right? So RBI monitors all the your monetary policies. So similar to RBI, so we have something called as a European Central Bank. So right on here, next one is European Central Bank. That implements monetary policy. Monetary policy of European Union. So like any political entity, so in India we have parliament, so the counterpart is European Parliament. In India we have executive, the counterpart is European Commission. In India we have Supreme Court, the counterpart is Court of Justice of European Union. In India we have RBI, the counterpart is, that is European Central Bank. So whatever, since European Union is considered as one political unit, so in order to run a political unit, we want parliament, we want executive, we want judiciary, and we want central bank. So the same things are there in European Union. So what is the benefit of, like, after a European Union was formed, what is the benefit of European Union as such? So what is the benefit of European Union? So write down here, benefits of European Union. So write down here, benefits of European Union. So first one is, it led to economic integration. So when, say, European countries are very small countries, say the population size is lesser than that of Indian states as such. So European countries are very small size. So when all these 27 countries came together, it created a big market. Since it created a big market, it gave an economic opportunity for all the countries. It is not that one country got benefited, all countries got them benefited, because it was a big market. So that's the reason it gave economic benefit. So first one, write down, economic integration led to larger market and economic growth. Economic integration led to a larger market and economic growth. Okay, next one is, see, if you see your World War I and World War II, what is the reason? The countries within Europe, they were fighting among themselves. World War I and World War II happened because of the countries within the Europe, they were fighting among themselves. So now what happened under European Union, all the countries of Europe has come together. So if they have come together, we can avoid any political disputes. So political disputes can be avoided. So this will lead to political cooperation. World War I, World War II happened due to the political disputes in Europe. So in order to avoid that, European Union helps in political cooperation that will enhance regional stability and security. Fine. So write down here, it enhances political cooperation. Now 27 countries are there, right? So they will properly cooperate because everyone are under same umbrella, that is European Union. So enhances political cooperation and region and provides enhances political cooperation and provides regional stability and security. Regional stability and security. Okay, next benefit is that avoids inequality in the region. Since all the 27 countries have come together, so it avoids inequality in the region because it is going to benefit all the 27 countries, and in fact, it is benefiting all the 27 countries. So it will avoid any inequality and promote equality. So right down here, increases standard of living, increases standard of living, increases standard of living and promotes equality in the region and promotes equality in the region promotes equality in the region. Fine. So these are the benefits that we get from your European Union. So what are the challenges in European Union? The first challenge is, see, in European Union, who makes laws? So the law is made by European Parliament. So this affects the sovereignty. There are certain countries who feel that their sovereignty is getting compromised. So currently France is feeling that their sovereignty is getting compromised because every country have their own parliament, but however European Parliament is kind of the boss in the sense it will overpower other regions. So the countries, there are certain countries like say earlier it was British who was feeling that their sovereignty is getting compromised. Now currently there are elements, there are certain news which comes that even France feels that their sovereignty is getting compromised. So right on here, first challenge is that sovereignty concerns among member states. Why sovereignty concerns? Because European Union makes laws. See, it's something like this. If China makes laws for us, so how do we feel? We feel something. We feel that our sovereignty is lost, right? Say for example, if Karnataka is making laws for Tamil Nadu, so okay, is it fine? No, it's not fine. Tamil Nadu should make laws for themselves. Karnataka should make laws for ourselves. So for Karnataka. So similarly, so in European Union, what's happening is that European Union is making laws for all the countries. Certain countries feel that their sovereignty is getting compromised. So that is the first challenge. Sovereignty concerns among the member states. Sovereignty concerns among the member states. Okay, next one is economic disparity and migration issues. If you see here within European Union, the Western countries are more developed and the Eastern countries are less developed. मतलब developed in the sense, don't मतलब less developed in the sense, not like India or say Bangladesh or Pakistan, etc. With respect to Western Europe, this Eastern Europe is relatively less developed. So it's not the development is subjective. Western European is super developed. So with respect to Western Europe, the Eastern European Union countries are less developed. So there's an economic disparity, and it is always seen that people from Eastern Europe migrate to the Western Europe. Say towards France or Germany, they migrate towards the Western Europe. So that is causing dispute in the host country. So right on here, economic disparities between next challenge is economic disparity between Western Europe and Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is less developed compared to Western Europe. मतलब less developed in the sense not like say Pakistan or Bangladesh to some extent in India. So it is better. It's better. Okay, fine. In fact, Bangladesh has more per capita than India. So yeah, fine. Okay. Next one is migration issues. Migration issues from Eastern Europe to Western Europe. Migration issues from Eastern Europe to Western Europe. Eastern Europe to Western Europe. Yeah. So next one, rise of Euroscepticism. Rise of Euroscepticism. So what is this rise of Euroscepticism? So rise of Euroscepticism in the sense it is a movement. It is a movement which says that this European Union is not benefiting us. So the Brexit, that is British, came out of European Union. So the reason was due to this phenomena, that is Euroscepticism. Euroscepticism means the countries feel that being a part of European Union is not benefiting us. We are having a skeptical idea over European Union concept. So that movement is known as Euroscepticism. So there is a rise of Euroscepticism in few countries like Germany and France in the recent times. So write down here, rise of Euroscepticism. Ashwita, Western Europe is more developed compared to Eastern Europe. मतलब developed in the sense uh, uh, you're getting right. It's like Western Europe is like super developed, Eastern Europe is developed. मतलब don't think that Eastern Europe is not developed. No, no, it is also developed, but Western Europe is more developed. Fine. Okay, rise of Euroscepticism. Rise of Euroscepticism. Example in France and Germany. Example in France. Example France. Okay. Next one is complex bureaucracy and decision making process in Euro Commission. Complex bureaucracy and decision making process in European Commission. In European Commission. So these are the challenges in European Union. Now let us see. Yeah. So now let us see Brexit. So what is Brexit? Hello. It's audible, right? Okay, so now let us see Brexit. Audible, right? Audible, no? Yeah, fine. Okay, now let us see Brexit. Okay, so Brexit, you can consider that how social media, this is a classic evidence that in the 21st century, how social media can brainwash the majority of one country, and this country is not some underdeveloped country, highly developed country in Brexit. So the British got fooled by this social media hype, that is Euroscepticism. So this concept of Euroscepticism, it means that if a country is a part of European Union, that country will not benefit. So as a reason, we have to come out of the European Union. This concept is known as Euroscepticism. So what happened? So the Brexit. So what is Brexit? So write down this heading, Brexit. Brexit refers to, so write down here, Brexit refers to UK's decision. Guys, so from here, wanted one advice. So I thought like whatever that we are that we are dictating, I'll put it in the this thing itself. That's in your PPT itself from Brexit onwards. Can you refer the PPT or you want me to dictate? So what is Brexit referendum? I'll explain. I'll explain. You want me to dictate? Fine. Okay, fine. We'll dictate. No issues. Okay. Good. Okay, Kartika. Fine. Okay, Ras. Will fine. Okay, so please see here. Okay, so what is this Brexit? So Brexit, so write down here, Brexit. It's a phenomenon. So Brexit, so not phenomenon. So write down here. So Brexit refers to UK, that is your United Kingdom, coming out of Brexit refers to UK's decision to leave EU. Brexit, UK's decision to leave EU, to leave EU. So that is known as your Brexit. So again here, in order to understand how social media plays very important role in a country's decision, please watch this documentary, Brexit: The Uncivil War. So you will get to know that how social media is affecting in the 21st century. So Brexit means it is a phenomena, or say it happened in UK, where due to social media's influence, people voted against being a member, against European Union. So the Euroscepticism was rising in British, or say in United Kingdom, and because of that there was a referendum that was put. So a referendum was there. So that is in 2016 there was a referendum. In this referendum was whether UK should be a part of European Union or not, whether UK was earlier a part of European Union. So earlier there were 28 countries. Since earlier there were 28 countries, and Euroscepticism was rising. Why this Euroscepticism was rising? Because of social media influence. In social media, false fake news was propagated in such a way that if British is a part of European Union, British is losing a lot, because there is a lot of in-migration. British is all the British money is given to the Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is less developed. All the British money is given to the Eastern Europe. People from Eastern Europe are entering into British. All this narrative was set in social media, and there was a public demand for British to come out of European Union. So then what happened? So in 2016 a referendum was conducted, where 52 percentage of the people voted in favor of leaving European Union. So due to this voting, then British came out of European Union, say by 2020. So everything was finalized. British came out of, by 2020 December, British officially exited European Union. Say from 2016 till say 2020, it was in a transition period. So on 2016, British took a referendum, and in that referendum, people voted for British to leave European Union. From 2016 till 2020, there was a transition period. From 2020 onwards, British completely left European Union. So that is known as your Brexit. So write down here, just write on the timeline. In 2020, in 2016, in 2016, in 2016, a referendum. Yeah, in 20, see, all of a sudden we couldn't live. So there's a transition period. So in 2016, referendum. In 2016 referendum, 52 percentage of voters. 2016 referendum, 52 percentage of voters chose to leave the EU. 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 In 2020, UK officially exited. UK officially exited in 2020. UK officially exited EU in 2020. UK officially exited EU. 2020, UK officially exited EU. Okay. So right on here, what is the reason? Why did UK leave European Union? First one is, and everything is perception. And after, please see here, after when European Union, when British left, when British left this European Union, then we had reports from most of the famous universities, be it Oxford or be it Harvard. Proper reports were submitted where British was getting benefit, or the British were benefited when it was a part of European Union. Due to the social media campaign, the campaign was played in such a way that the British people thought that they are getting affected when they're a part of European Union. That is, the Euroscepticism campaign in social media was so high that that is majority Europe, British people, majority UK people, 52% of UK people felt that ठीक है यार, मतलब if we are a part of European Union, we are getting affected. But after once after this referendum, all this university reports that were published, it showed with proof that British was in fact getting benefit when it was a part of European Union. Now that referendum was conducted, British had to come out of European Union. But this referendum, you can quote this example in your say essay also, how social media is influencing the people. So this a false narrative was promoted in social media where it was said that British is getting affected when it's a part of when it was a part of European Union. And this again here, the university reports, the official university reports were also published before the referendum that took place. But however, the social media hype was in such a way that people got fooled. That is, the 52 percentage people got fooled, thinking that British is getting affected when it is a part of European Union. So now after the referendum, the social media hype came down. That is, the marketing of Euroscepticism came down. So then the screen was clear, and then people started to witness, or say people started to go through this university reports that showed with data that British was getting benefit when it was a part of European Union. So now it's done. Now British is out of European Union. Now, yeah, in order to understand how social media plays an important role, please watch that documentary. It's very good. It's kind of a must-watch documentary. So yeah, so right down here, reasons behind Brexit. So what are the reasons behind Brexit? So right down here, Brexit in the sense British exiting European Union. That BRE, Brexit is, yeah, BRE. This is your British. BR is British exiting your European Union. Fine. So right down here, reasons behind Brexit. One is sovereignty issues, and everything is perception. So perception that British had a perception that their sovereignty is getting compromised. Perception of first one, right on, perception of sovereignty getting compromised. First point is perception of sovereignty getting compromised due to EU laws. Perception of sovereignty getting compromised due to EU laws. Second one is perception of, everything is perception. Second one is perception of economic burden. Perception of economic burden due to economic burden on British. Third one is perception of high in-migration. Perception of high in-migration from Eastern Europe. Perception of high in-migration from Eastern Europe into British, into UK, Eastern Europe into UK. So this is the reason behind Brexit, and everything is perception. Was there high in migration? No. Was there high economic burden? No. In fact, the amount of money that British was contributing to UK, to European Union, it was getting much more in return. And again, sovereignty, was there any loss in sovereignty? No loss as such, but everything due to social media campaigning, British voted against European Union and they had to come out. So what is the impact of this Brexit on India? So right down here, impact of Brexit on India. Impact of Brexit on India. So see here, please see here, earlier when UK was a part of European Union, that is, then European Union had 28 countries. So now European Union has 27 countries. So earlier, if India had to deal with Europe, we just had to deal with one entity, that is your EU. Now if we have to deal with European Union, we have to deal with two entities. One is with respect to UK and one is with respect to European Union. So when there's a Brexit, yeah, when there is Brexit, so this has created a lot of issues in terms of bilateral trades. Now we have to renegotiate all the bilateral trades. First one, right on. Earlier it was only one entity, European Union. Now British has come out of European Union, so now we have to renegotiate with British separately. So this is creating issues. So right on here, bilateral. First impact on Brexit on India. First one is renegotiation of renegotiation of the trade agreements. Renegotiation of the trade agreements with UK. You are getting why renegotiation? Because earlier we had negotiated trade with European Union. So if we have to if we have to trade with entire Europe, so we were negotiating with European Union. Now if British has come out of European Union, we will have to have a separate negotiation, separate trade agreement with this British. So a renegotiation of trade agreements with British. And British was the and UK was the London was the financial hub of European Union, right? Say London was the financial hub of European Union, and so we had all our investments in UK. So the reason being, since it was a part of European Union, if we put our investments in London, so we could engage with entire European Union. But now UK has come out of European Union, so this has affected our financial services and investments. So right down here, now if we have to invest in Europe, we have to either invest in UK or either invest in European Union. Earlier, India makes a lot of investment in Europe, say be it your Tatas or say be it your Airtel, etc. They have a lot of investments in Europe. So earlier the investment was done in London because London was a financial hub. If we do investment in London, it means that we are doing investment. We can trade in entire European Union. Now it is different. If we have to invest in London, it's only with respect to UK. But if we have to trade with France, Germany, etc., you will have to make a different investment. So it affects our investments. So right on here, next impact is complicates the investment procedure. Complicates the investment procedure. Complicates the investment procedure. Okay, now see, UK and Europe is one of the important hub where Indian students go and study. So getting one EU visa, that was sufficient. But however, now visa issue has become more complicated. For UK a separate visa, for EU separate visa. It has complicated. So right on here, affects visa policies, affects visa and immigration policies, affects visa and immigration policies, immigration policies. Within bracket, you write down, mainly affects the student community. Mainly affects the student community. Mainly affects the student community. So these are the main impact of Brexit on India. Fine. Now we will see the evolution of India-Europe relationship. So right on here, evolution of India-Europe relationship. Evolution of India-Europe relationship. Yeah. So right on here. So yeah. So before this EU, EU is a single market. So before EU, we had something called as a European Economic Community. So similar to EU, but the number of members were less. The number of members were less in this EEC, that is European Economic Community. EU, the earlier it was 28 members, now it is 27 members. But whereas this European Economic Community, the members were less. More or less, it was not exactly a single market as such, but it was a precursor to your European Union. When it was formed in 1960s, India started a diplomatic relation with this entity itself, with this European Economic Community itself. So write down here evolution under this. Write down India established diplomatic relation. India established diplomatic relation diplomatic relation with European Economic Community, with European Economic Community, with European Economic Community in 1962. In 1962. So within this write down, EEC is a precursor. EEC is a precursor. EEC, yeah, EEC is a precursor. EEC is a precursor. Is a precursor to EU. So it is not that we are establishing a new relationship as such. So we had relationship from 1962 onwards only. That is with the European region, and again here. So after say 19 after 2000. So right on here, post 2000s, post 2000, post 2000. So right on here, post 2000. Here right now. So. First one I write down. First India EU summit in 2000. First India EU summit in 2000. So in this first India EU summit, so what happened? The leaders, that's all the EU top leaders came along with the Indian Prime Minister. They discussed regarding the trade relationship. Again here, after 1991, the main aspects of our foreign relation to foreign policy is to enhance the economic benefit, is to ensure that India gets economic benefits. So what happened in 2020 in 2000, we had the first India EU summit, where the high level meetings were conducted in order to increase trade and investment. So right on here, first India EU summit, first India EU summit, first India EU summit, which had high level dialogues, to increase trade and investment, which had high level dialogues to increase trade and investments, okay, to increase trade and investment. So then what happened in 2004? So we had a strategic partnership agreement with India. So what is strategic partnership agreement? Strategic partnership agreement means it is an agreement between two political entities which has ramifications in various sectors for a long duration. So in wide sectors for a long duration. So that is known as your strategic partnership. Say it is not that we'll just engage in only one aspect, say trading agricultural commodities. No, strategic partnership means we will engage with various sectors. We engage in various sectors for a long duration. So that is called a strategic partnership. In 2004, we signed a strategic partnership agreement with your European Union. So write down here 2004. India EU signed a strategic partnership agreement. India EU signed a strategic partnership agreement in 2004. India EU signed a strategic partnership agreement. India EU signed a strategic partnership agreement. I'll allow me to take 5 minutes extra. So I require 5 minutes extra. So we'll wind up this one. Okay. So right, strategic partnership agreement. And again in 2005 we had joint action plan. So joint action plan to write down here, joint action plan to increase the cooperation in to increase the cooperation, joint action plan to increase the cooperation in trade, security, and climate change. To increase the cooperation in trade, security, and climate change. Climate change, trade, security, and climate change. Okay, so what do we trade? So what do we trade between India and Europe? So write down here. So trade. What do we trade between India and Europe? So write down here. So India exports textile, pharmaceutical, machineries, and IT services. India exports textile, pharmaceuticals, machineries, and IT services. Okay. Europe. What do we import from Europe? It is machineries. It is high end machineries. It is high end machineries. High end machineries. High end machinery. High end machineries. Transport equipments. Transport equipments. That's your motor vehicle. Your luxury motor vehicles. BMWs, Audis, etc. That is your transport equipments and chemicals. High-end machineries, transport equipments, and chemicals. So this is what we import from Europe. Now, so here one thing you have to understand. So we initiated something called as the FTA. So a free trade agreement. So free trade agreement with European Union was initiated in 2000. Please give me 5 minutes. I'll wind up after 5 minutes. So there was one free trade agreement that was initiated in 2007. So in 2004 we had strategic partnership agreement. In order to further increase the trade, we initiated a free trade agreement that is known as your bilateral trade and investment agreement, that is BTIA. So BTIA, that is BTIA. Yeah, India. Yeah, something. One second. It is your India EU BTA, BTIA, India EU BTIA program. So BTIA agreement, India EU BTIA agreement was initiated in 2007, but till date we are still negotiating. We haven't finalized this India EU free trade agreement. India EU free trade agreement is known as BTIA agreement, that is bilateral trade and investment agreement. Still now it has not been negotiated. So from 2013 till 2022 it was being negotiated, but it was stopped, and now again the renegotiation has started. Till now it has not been concluded. So write down here, free trade agreement. So it is India EU BTIA, free trade agreement. Under this, write down India EU BTIA, India EU bilateral trade and investment agreement was initiated in 2007, but still under negotiation, but still under negotiation, but still under negotiation, but still under negotiation. Fine. Even now we haven't decided under our free trade agreement, so we are still negotiating. So not yet finalized. Next we have investments, foreign direct investment flow. How the investment is going on between India and EU. So right on here, FDI. So investment flow. So right on here, FDI, foreign direct investment into India, FDI into India, FDI into India. So European Union is one of the important player. So again here, if you consider West Asia, most of the money comes from West Asia to India. So that is with say from Arab world to India. It is not that we invest money in Arab world, very little, but however, most of the money comes from West Asia to India. But whereas with respect to Europe, Europe also invests money in India. We also invest money in Europe. So that is the difference in the investment flow in Europe vis-a-vis the West Asia. So right down here, FDI, EU invests EU invests EU invests in automotive, 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 telecom, and energy sectors in India. EU invests in automotive, telecom, and energy sectors in India. Energy sectors in India. Full stop. India invests in India invests in IT, pharmaceutical, IT, yeah, IT, pharmaceutical, and automotive industries in EU. IT, pharmaceutical, and automotive industries in EU. Fine. Okay. So here the investment is bi-directional. Europe is also investing in India. India is also investing in Europe. So investment is bi-directional. And it is in the recent times we have started military exercises as a security cooperation. So right down here, in the recent times, security cooperation, so India Europe relationship is not very close in terms of security relation. It's only in the recent times we have initiated the security cooperation. But however, India is focusing, India is more interested in terms of having economic relation with Europe. Same is the case with European Union also. Fine. So right on here, security cooperation. Can I take 2 minutes extra? Is it okay? 2 minutes extra? Fine. Okay. 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 2 minutes extra. Yeah. So right up here, in the recent times, in the recent times, India has, in the recent times, India Europe, India EU has initiated security cooperations through joint joint military exercises, through joint military exercises. The first, see, if you see here, the first naval exercise was done in 2023 only. The maiden naval exercise was done in 2023 only. So from recent times we have started this security cooperation with European Union. But however, European Union is important from our economic perspective, not from security perspective as such. Fine. And the last point of the day is, yeah, so repeat what to, okay, this point. So again here, in the recent times, India and European Union are coordinating from the security perspective through joint military exercise, fine. The last point of the day is, so right down here, climate change and sustainable development. Climate change and sustainable development. In climate change and sustainable development, we have shared interest. If you see here across the world, when you study your environment, you will see that it is European Union that is taking a lot of steps regarding controlling climate change, not America, not USA. So it is European Union becoming a leader in terms of climate change mitigation efforts. Same as with India. So in Asian countries, it is India which is a leader in terms of controlling climate change. So here the interests are overlapping. In Europe, it is a European Union. In India, it is in Asia, it is India. So there's an overlapping of interest. So right on here, climate change and sustainable development. Both India and EU both India and EU has has shared interest, has common interest or shared interest in climate change mitigation measures. In climate change mitigation measures. Example, International Solar Alliance. So it was jointly initiated by India and France. So now other countries have also joined, but when it was started, International Solar Alliance was jointly started by India and France. So yeah, example ISA, International Solar Alliance. Fine. Okay. So write down this topic and we'll stop. So challenges in India EU relation. So challenges in India EU relation. There is no class tomorrow, Zeba. We'll have it on Monday. So challenges in India EU relation. Okay, Pari, explain the military exercise. See, Pari, so what is this military exercise? So, from India's perspective, so European Union is an important entity for economic development, economic cooperation. Security cooperation, European Union is not our concern, is not our primary concern. So we want European Union from economic perspective. That is only in the recent times, both India and European Union have conducted joint military exercise. So why joint military exercise are conducted? So that in case if there is any war in the future, in case any disaster occurs, the militaries of both military. See, when I tell military, it means all the three wings: army, navy, air force. The word military combines all the three things: army, navy, and your air force. So joint military exercise means, so the reason why we conduct joint military exercise with say India USA, because in future if there is any war, if there is any cooperation that is needed, if there is any turbulence in the region, we require cooperation. That is, the security forces should work together. So if the security forces work together, then we can resolve the issue properly. But however, we do not consider European Union as a primary stakeholder in sharing India's security concerns. So we have better opportunity in a sense. See, your European Union is a part of NATO. European Union doesn't have adequate military power. In fact, European Union's security is taken care by USA. Your entire Europe's security is taken care by USA. So that's the reason why we do not have a good security engagements with European Union. For India's perspective, European Union is a big market. It's a luxury market. People have money over there. There's a technology, cutting edge technology. Europe has cutting edge technology. We want that. Europe has a lot of money with them. We can sell our goods over there. So that is the agenda from India's perspective. Fine. Okay. Okay. Rainy weekend. Okay. Thank you, Dikshit. Thank you. Yes, Prakash. Any doubt? You can put it in the mail. I'll respond to it. Fine. Okay. Yes, Sunny. It is. If you do not go in details regarding the political science, your Middle East and West Asia is considered as same. Raz, I will send it today. I will send it today. The major irritants between India and Nepal. See, you need the major irritants between India and Nepal. Your CPM, CPN, Communist Party of Nepal. So that's a major irritant. So this Communist Party of Nepal, they always play this anti-India card. So they tell that India is acting like a big brother. Matlab, to some extent, we also do it. Yeah, that we cannot discount that. Yeah, that is one thing. It's whenever we have this Communist Party of Nepal in Nepal government, then we have some issues. Apart from that, we don't have major irritant as such, because the people to people contact is very strong with Nepal. Even though there's a dispute at the government level, at the grassroots level, there's a strong people to people contact with respect to Nepal. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Sima. Even after the class, if you have any doubt regarding that, you can mail me. Not an issue. Shweta, I have no idea about public administration optional here. Anything regarding geography or anthro, you can ask me. Uh, our lecture 11 is not available. Prakash, lecture 11. Yeah, yesterday someone told no, lecture 11 is already available. Someone told no yesterday. Someone told, right? Yeah, I think there's some batches. No, you need to switch from one batch to the another batch where you have access to the videos. I think yesterday someone told, right, that lecture 11 is already available. I don't know, man. I told the concerned person. So yeah. Yeah, Yasmin. Yeah, there's a person called Yasmin in your class, so you can ask that person. So Yasmin can guide you. So in seeing the classes. Steven, I'm not able to switch my batch. Yes, Steven, I haven't seen the portal at all. I don't know how to switch the batch. Even I'm see Steven and others. Any academic queries, please let me know. I haven't even seen the app. Matlab, how to switch the batches also, I don't know. So that's the reason. Okay. Yeah. There is any social media group in the class? I don't know. Is there any social media? Acha, you guys have any social media? Matlab, any WhatsApp group or Telegram group? I don't know. Yaar. Okay, no, it seems there's no social media group as such. Okay, fine. Okay, okay. So if there's any doubt, you can just mail me and I'll be responding to it. So then, so chalo then. So thank you guys. Thank you.